What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Baddog here with another New York Giants video. And in this video, I want to do something a little bit different. I'm going to talk about one of our favorite topics, which is Daniel Jones, but I want to do a different type of video today, and hopefully you guys and girls enjoy it. There is no doubt about it, Daniel Jones is one of the more polarizing figures in recent Giants memory. Being the 6th overall pick in the 2019 draft, obviously had a lot of backlash by fans, including myself. We're not really enamored with the pick. Daniel Jones showed flashes in his rookie season of maybe being the man, but obviously he has not succeeded the way a lot of us thought that he should, being that he was the 6th overall pick. Now, while most of the fan base has given up on Daniel Jones, there are definitely some that still hold out hope that he could be the future franchise quarterback for the New York Giants. But in this video, I want to talk about 5 reasons why Daniel Jones has failed with the New York Giants. Daniel Jones in his career is 12-25 as a starter. 45 touchdowns, 29 interceptions. But in the last 2 seasons, Daniel Jones has thrown 21 touchdowns and 17 interceptions. He has dealt with fumble problems, turnover problems, injury problems throughout his career. He's fumbled 36 times in 3 seasons, although that total has gone down over the past 3 years. But here are 5 reasons in no particular order why I believe Daniel Jones has not lived up to expectations. And as always, if you have one that you don't agree with, you can always leave it in the comment section, or if you think of something else, you can leave it in the comment section as well. Number 5, no offensive line. There is no doubt about it when people talk about Daniel Jones not succeeding, the first thing that comes out of most people's mouths is, well, they have no offensive line. The Giants have no offensive line. And this is true. The New York Giants have had injuries to the offensive line. They have had bad offensive linemen. They have had a rotating door of offensive linemen. They have had bad draft pick with offensive linemen, especially since Daniel Jones has been with the New York Giants. They've only addressed the offensive line one time in the first round and has been extremely inconsistent in front of him. They even had to release their best offensive lineman, Kevin Zeitler, in 2021 and did not address the offensive line at all in the 2021 draft. So there is no doubt about this. When teams know that the New York Giants are going to pass the ball, they're easily able to penetrate the pocket, get to Daniel Jones. They've also been able to shut down the running game, which also does not allow Daniel Jones much time in the pocket to throw the ball. So there is no doubt about it. The offensive line certainly is a major reason, and perhaps the biggest reason why Daniel Jones has failed to live up to expectations with the New York Giants and why he has continued to struggle throughout his career. There's no denying the New York Giants have to get better up front if Daniel Jones is going to have any chance of succeeding, no matter where he goes. If he's not a Giant next year, wherever he goes, he's going to need some help in front of him. And the New York Giants certainly have not given him that, according to many fans, and that argument is very valid. Number 4, lack of weapons. This is another thing that we have heard about throughout Daniel Jones' career, is that he has no weapons on the outside. He doesn't have a big play receiver. He doesn't have this. He doesn't have that. Well, Saquon Barkley is definitely a major piece of what the New York Giants were going to do offensively when they drafted him 2nd overall in 2018. Barkley has dealt with a lot of injury issues, serious injury issues, which have made him miss time with the New York Giants, including most of the 2020 season. The New York Giants tried to go out there and address this by spending $72 million on Kenny Golladay and taking their first pick of the 2021 draft and drafting Kadarius Toney out of Florida. Those two, the first-round pick and the $72 million man, accounted for exactly 1 less touchdown than left tackle Andrew Thomas. They did not score any touchdowns between them. Darius Slayton had a case of the drops. They've dealt with injuries to Sterling Shepard. Golladay was hurt last year. Toney was hurt last year. Evan Ingham couldn't catch a cold in a phone booth with a bunch of people that were sick. One of the best receivers that Daniel Jones has had to throw to was over-the-hill Golden Tate. So there's no doubt about this. Daniel Jones also has not had a lot of weapons to throw to, and while the Giants thought that maybe they had fixed this issue by drafting Kadarius Toney and signing Kenny Golladay to a major contract, neither one of them helped Daniel Jones out at all, as all receivers seemed to fail, not live up to expectations, and be injured throughout Daniel Jones' career. There is no doubt about this as well. The lack of weapons that Daniel Jones has had to throw to certainly has not helped Daniel Jones' situation with the New York Giants. Number 3, the Joe Judge, Jason Garrett regime. In 2019, Daniel Jones definitely showed flashes of breaking out and becoming a really good quarterback for the New York Giants. There was 4 games in particular in which Daniel Jones' skill set looked incredibly impressive against the Jets, against the Lions, against Washington, and his first game against Tampa Bay. Daniel Jones showed a nice mixture of being able to run out of the pocket, make plays with his legs, and make throws down the field, and make big plays for the New York Giants. He threw 24 touchdowns his rookie season. There's no doubt Daniel Jones looked like he was on the precipice of being a very good quarterback for the Giants, despite all his limitations, the lack of an offensive line and the lack of weapons he had in 2019. Daniel Jones still seemed to succeed a lot better than a lot of people thought he would, but certainly regressed over the last 2 years. What does this have to do with Joe Judge? Is it Joe Judge's conservative game plan? Did Joe Judge never really have any confidence in Daniel Jones? Was it Jason Garrett's game plan that hurt Daniel Jones? A lot of people said it was Jason Garrett. And after they fired Jason Garrett, Daniel Jones continued to struggle. The Giants' offense continued to fail miserably time after time. The lack of consistency, it was constantly cautious and no aggression whatsoever. How much of that had to do with Joe Judge? How much of that had to do with the offensive scheme, the play calling, and the players around Daniel Jones? Who knows? But it was obvious that Joe Judge and Jason Garrett did not get it done here, as the New York Giants were one of the worst offensive teams in the league during their tenure, which is why neither one of them now are employed by the New York Giants. Number 2, Dave Gettleman. Dave Gettleman is definitely a name that's going to come up when they talk about Daniel Jones. After all, it was Dave Gettleman who fell in love with Daniel Jones after seeing, 3 plays in the Senior Bowl and just said, this is our guy. Dave Gettleman probably was influenced by John Mara and company, thinking that Daniel Jones was an Eli Manning spinoff and that he was going to be the next Eli Manning. Trained by David Cutcliffe, they thought that Daniel Jones was cut from the same cloth as Eli Manning and would turn into the next Eli Manning. Well, that certainly did not happen. Dave Gettleman did nothing to help Daniel Jones whatsoever. Dave Gettleman came into the New York Giants and said, I'm going to fix the offensive line. That was his vow to New York Giants fans, and he did nothing to live up to that vow. After 2018, when he drafted Will Hernandez, he had 6 first-round picks, and he only spent 1 of them on an offensive lineman, which was Andrew Thomas. And Andrew Thomas is actually pretty good. In 2020, he went out and he drafted Matt Parrott late 3rd round, failure, and Shane Lemieux in the 5th round, thinking that this was going to fix the New York Giants offensive line. In 2021, due to cap restrictions, the Giants had to cut their best offensive lineman, Kevin Zeitler, with a lot of people thinking that the Giants are going to draft Rashawn Slater in the 2021 draft to start to help to fix the offensive line. Well, Dave Gettleman said no, traded back, and did not take not only not alignment in the 1st round, but no rounds in the 2021 draft. Obviously, patchworking and pieceworking an offensive line together that completely failed miserably, getting guys off the scrap heap and allowing Daniel Jones absolutely no time to succeed in the pocket, no confidence whatsoever. Dave Gettleman was unable to get any playmakers around Daniel Jones, although he tried with the additions of Kenny Golladay. Everything that Dave Gettleman seemed to do around Daniel Jones was destined to fail. Everything that Dave Gettleman did with the New York Giants as a whole completely failed, and that is also why Dave Gettleman is no longer employed by the New York Giants. Number 1, Daniel Jones. We can sit here and point the finger at everything around Daniel Jones all we want. There's no doubt about it. The first 4 reasons that Daniel Jones has failed are absolutely valid arguments because all of them have hampered Daniel Jones' progression, his growth, and his career with the Giants. Not having an offensive line to protect the quarterback is never going to give a quarterback confidence. Not giving him anybody to throw to or constantly having receivers rotate in and out because of injuries, because of drops, because of poor play or whatever it is, does not help the quarterback. When you have a head coach in Joe Judge who had no idea what he was doing, wouldn't know the difference between a curl route and a cheese curl, and of course Jason Garrett, who many people said had no idea what he was doing either, was not going to help Daniel Jones's game grow either. And when you have a GM like Dave Gettleman who gives Daniel Jones no talent really to protect him or to throw to or to grow in any aspect because your drafts and your free agent signings continue to fail, it's going to set up the quarterback for failure. All of them are valid arguments. But Daniel Jones also needs to take some blame for this. Have we seen any growth from Daniel Jones? Does Daniel Jones make the players around him any better? Does he get rid of the ball quicker to alleviate the fact that the offensive line is not great? Can he make split-second decisions? Can he read the blitz? Can he read zone coverages? Can he make better decisions inside the red zone where the Giants continue to fail? Is he as mobile as some people think? Can he really escape a collapsing pocket and make a play with his legs or make a play with his arm down the field when he's able to escape? Now, his fumbles have decreased over the course of his 3 seasons. He fumbled 19 times his first year, only 7 times last season. Daniel Jones has also dealt with injuries, concussions, sprained ankles, strained hamstrings, and now a bad neck. He's 12-25 in his career. He's thrown 21 touchdowns and 17 interceptions in the last 2 seasons, and the Giants have been one of the most awful offenses in the NFL. So how much of this is actually Daniel Jones' fault? Does anybody actually see Daniel Jones take a step forward in his progressions and get better at making the players around him better? Again, all 5 of these reasons are reasons that Daniel Jones, in my opinion, has not lived up to expectations with the New York Giants, why Joe Schoen did not pick up the 5th-year option on Daniel Jones, and while 2022 could possibly be the last year for Daniel Jones in a New York Giants uniform. So those are the 5 reasons why I think that Daniel Jones has not lived up to expectations with the New York Giants. I know some people are going to think you're just hating on Daniel Jones, but I'll be honest, I'm not hating on Daniel Jones. Critiquing somebody is not hating on him. I do not hate Daniel Jones. I like Daniel Jones. I want Daniel Jones to succeed with the New York Giants. He's our quarterback. I'm a Giants fan. I am not a player fan. The better Daniel Jones does, the better the New York Giants are going to do. In my opinion, I hope all these things come to fruition this year. Daniel Jones figures it out with a new coaching staff. Granted, the offensive line should be better this year. They've added some pieces. They drafted Evan Neal. Hopefully the receivers and Saquon Barkley are healthy this year, and behind a better offensive line, Jones can have some protection, and Saquon Barkley will be able to run the ball. With Mike Kafka here and Brian Daboll, you would think that they'll open up the offense and give Daniel Jones an opportunity to succeed. So all 5 reasons, I should say the 4 reasons why Daniel Jones failed before I said Daniel Jones, have been upgraded. Now it's up to Daniel Jones to prove everybody wrong that said he can't do it. Let's hope that he does. That's all I got in this video. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. It's Baddog Dizzle, and as always, I'm out. Peace.